John, a 60-year-old with $850,000 saved, chose to retire, and he was super excited about it. But just a year in, he's second-guessing that decision. Should he stay retired or go back to work? And why did this happen? Let's jump in. Welcome to Rise in Retirement,
where our goal is to help you make better informed decisions regarding your retirement and hard-earned dollars.
We are W.A. Smith Financial, and we're advisors here at the firm. We've helped people all over the U.S. make informed and empowered decisions regarding their hard-earned dollars, and our goal is to help you focus more on your life and worry less about your money.
So today's hypothetical case features John, 60 years old. He went into retirement very excited with $850,000. He found himself really second guessing that decision just a year later. Not real sure what went wrong here. So we want to talk about this case and talk it through on what went wrong here with John's scenario.
Yeah, the reality is that first year can kind of slap a lot of people in the face. And, we want to help you understand what to look for and how to prepare a little bit here today.
Absolutely. And if you like discussions just like this, don't forget to subscribe to our page, like this video, share the video to hear more about real world problems in retirement planning.
Yeah. So John, 60-year-old, has $850,000 saved. He's excited about retirement, thinks he's in pretty good shape. $850,000 is a lot of money for people. Worked for a single employer for 35 plus years. Company man, and the goals were simple. Just wanted to get out of the rat race. He was mentally ready. He was emotionally ready. At least he thought, and we'll get into that more as we go. But wanted to get out of the Monday through Friday of 9 to 5. He knew he'd have to supplement his income, his cash flow monthly using his dollars. But Andrew, he was one of those people, and we see this a lot, where he was a little overconfident. $850,000 seemed like a pile of money to him. And without doing a whole lot of homework, he kind of jumped into this retirement phase, just looking at some simple numbers. And here we are a year later, and he's starting to regret that decision.
Yeah. And it seems like there's, for a John, there's two components to this, that I see what went wrong. Is number one, like you said, he kind of just jumped in and really didn't start with sanity checking what that spending was going to look like. Mm-hmm. He wanted to get out of the rat race because he wanted to start doing fun things. Well, hey, guess what? Fun things cost more money at the end of the day. So, we always joke, right? Every day Saturday when you get into retirement, and depending on your hobbies, things like, I think he liked golfing and sailing and camping. Hey, these aren't free things. These cost money. And so what you were maybe living off of while you were working 40 hours a week, you might actually find yourself needing more. So it's that whole misconception out there where, I'm good. I can go into retirement and I can live off of probably 70% of what I was making.
The rule of thumb, 80% of your pre-retirement income.
That's a bunch of BS, right? Yeah. It's more so let's actually break it down and figure out what are you going to spend? Because guess what? I'm a golfer. Golfing is getting more expensive by the year, and golfing's not cheap. So if you're out there golfing Saturday and Sunday, and all the other stuff that goes along with these hobbies, you got to sanity check that budget first.
Let me give you some case details on John. So John had $50,000 saved in the bank, and this is when he chose to make the retirement jump. $50,000 in the bank. He had $100,000 saved in a non-qualified brokerage account, non-IRA, non-401k based account. The rest of his money was in his 401k plan. So roughly another $700,000 that was in his 401k plan. Does not have a pension. The only income he's going to have when he chooses to retire is Social Security. And remember, he's 60. So he's still got a 2-year wait at a minimum before he can access that Social Security paycheck. And he did kind of go into this planning that, hey, as soon as I get to age 62, I'm going to take that Social Security. So, he's that guy who lives paycheck to paycheck. Everything that comes in that doesn't get distributed to his or contributed to his 401k, he doesn't set a whole lot of money aside. That's his main savings vehicle, and that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
everything that comes in the bank account generally goes right back out. He spends it. And remember, he's spending Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 working. So he's not spending those dollars during that period of time. He assumes that $5,500 a month during retirement is going to be sufficient.
Yeah. And again, sanity checking that budget. He thought that was going to be the case, which I think that first year, like you said, reality slapped him across the face. And I don't think he was actually getting to do all of the hobbies that he wanted to do with that budget. And so realized that things were a little more, costly. Another thing is $700,000 of his savings being in a 401k, pre-tax, all pre-tax in there. Does he actually have $700,000? Nah, as a single person pulling that type of income, your tax bracket's up there. So you got to account for tax liabilities that are going to come out of this. So the other big thing that I don't think John carefully planned for, I mentioned the sanity checking the budget. Number 2 was, you have hobbies, but what are you going to do every day?
Yeah.
To have purpose in life, to make sure that you're actually enjoying yourself. And that's what we see a lot with individuals is they rush into that, make that knee-jerk reaction of, I just want to stop working. I don't want the rat race anymore.
I think I have enough.
And I got enough and I'm done. But then they have zero purpose to their life. And, they lose their acquaintances and, relationships that they have. And they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I think money was a big part of this, but also purpose was a big part of these questioning in his head of, do I just go back to work? Do I continue on this path? Or, there's a lot to it.
The realities of that first year, I think we identified for you kind of 5 key things. These are the realities of that first year of retirement that you want to think about before you make the leap. And that you want to sit down with a financial professional, a planner, a fiduciary, and talk to them, not just about your money and the math behind it all, but you also want to have these conversations with them because they have a lot of guidance for you in these areas. So number 1, I'll start. You mentioned this. Every day is Saturday, right? So John's a guy who works 9 to 5. He doesn't spend a lot of money during the week. Doesn't have a lot of time for those hobbies. Now every day is Saturday in retirement. He can wake up and he can go golfing. He can go sailing. He can choose to go on a camping trip, and he can do those things with a lot more frequency, which means there's more discretionary spending happening, especially in that first year of retirement because it's new and it's euphoric and it's exciting and you haven't had a chance. I mean, we said he worked for the same company for 35 years.
Yeah.
So he's jumping in with both feet now and he's realizing that, hey, maybe my budget wasn't quite right. So that's number 1.
Well, and part of the budget not being right leads us to number 2, which is he's only 60. We have 5 years before, Medicare can kick in. So he had, being a 35-year employee, he had some good insurance, health insurance. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden he's got to go on the open market. He could take Cobra for 18 months, but that's expensive. You're footing the bill now for your company health insurance. Yep. But he's got 5-year, gap now of covering health insurance, which I don't think he thought about those costs being added into the budget because those dollars were already coming out of his paycheck. Yep. The $5,500 net that was hitting his bank account was already post insurance covered. Yep. So now again, sanity checking that budget, he realized, oh gosh, I got another $1,000 a month that I got to cover.
Yeah. Number 3, can't forget about the market. Can't forget about volatility. So the plan's already tight.
Yeah.
When we ran the math, he's got to pull almost $50,000 a year gross from his 401k to get the income that he needs. That's a withdrawal rate of almost 6% a year. So if in that first year he goes through a major market downturn, his account isn't allocated properly or it's too aggressive, what happens to that withdrawal rate? Does it go to 7%, 8%, 10%?
Yeah.
Now he's in a big problem area. So, but plan that tight. You got to be really careful with how you allocate the dollars because that could blow up in your face.
Big time yellow light, right?
Yeah,
when we talk about,
red, green, or yellow,
where he's going, he was a big yellow light. So number 4, and I'm going to talk to 5 too. I already talked social life, loss, and boredom. That's a big key that you have to look at it. You have to talk with your family. You have to talk with your spouse, whoever it may be. What is your purpose going to look like? And I don't think he had that. He had boredom starting to set in. And then lastly, number 5 is unexpected home maintenance emergencies. Again, he needs 6%, we said. I mean, that doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room for those one-offs that will come up, right? You're going to have to replace the roof at some point, your furnace, home improvements, whatever it may be. There's things that come up outside of your month-to-month budget that you better have a plan for, because they will come. They will come at some point.
Yeah. So what's the lesson here? John, he was in decent shape, but I think the number one thing is he was overconfident and he rushed into the decision without thinking about some of these key areas that we talked about, the 5 areas in that first year of retirement that you have to think about. You've got to have a plan for.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is, had John come in and started making this maybe a little more of a priority earlier on, maybe 1, 2, heck, I'll go even as far as 5 years in advance of that kind of expected retirement date, he would have had more purpose. He would have had more of a plan in place to understand what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, how much money do you need? And you got to do it with the right type of advisor, because unfortunately in this industry, there's people out there who are just seeing a John and going, oh yeah, go ahead and retire. Let's get that $700,000 rolled over here right away. And that's all they care about. So working with a holistic financial planner, making sure that you're working with the right person to start laying out all 5 of these key planning areas that we've talked about to make sure he's got a solid plan in place.
Yep. Here's a good thing for you to do right now. If you are looking for tailored advice on financial planning, retirement planning topics, join our Send 360 Insider community. It's super easy to do. You click on a link in the description below, and every Thursday morning, like clockwork, you'll get an email with an awesome tip, a video chock full of great information that you can tap into.
Yeah. And before you guys go today, make sure you give us a thumbs up, like the video, share, subscribe to our page here today, and comment below if there's any sort of case or situation that you'd want us to talk a little more on Rise in Retirement.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time right here on Rise in Retirement.